Now should be 4 seconds from now.
Okay, so count down to the big time.
And we're live.
All right. Good afternoon, guys. For those of you who may not be joining us live, but join us later, so you can go on IIMC Facebook page. I wish you a happy Easter. I hope you are going to enjoy my bunny ears today. I am at home on an iPad, so I will not be able to see everybody. You know, usually if you're sitting in your office on the big screen, you see more, but on an iPad, it's very challenging. And I kind of like to scan and, you know, see what people look like. And then eventually, hopefully getting to an IMC conference, I will pass you in the hall and go, oh, I remember that face, because, you know, that's what it's all about. So we did not this time, for people who registered for the 10 o'clock or the 3 o'clock, we didn't have any questions. So as we're talking till 4 o'clock, if you think of something or you want to have a comment, or, I mean, you know, you have a question or whatever, you know, or if I'm rambling and you want to stop me, that's okay too, because I do ramble and I can talk a lot. There's no doubt about that. But as we know, this is, hey, I'm not by myself then. That's a good thing. My husband thinks I'm all by myself. I have this huge category as far as he's concerned, because, of course, I have an opinion about everything. But I don't give it to you unless you ask me, unless I happen to be married to you, and then you get all the glory of all of my opinions. So I just tell him, bless his heart, if he has to put up with me. But anyway, today is my last coffee tea with members. As you know, in about 5 weeks, I will take the oath as past president. And, you know, it's bittersweet, but I will tell you, if you decide to go on this journey, you only want to do it 1 year. It does take up a lot of your time, but there's definitely a lot of rewards. And depending on what you want to put into it or you want to get out of it, I would recommend anybody that wants to get into different things or more things in the IMC, that you start with your committees. If you're not a member, it's not too late to fill out an application, because there's never an application that goes unanswered. And as hard as we try to do your first request, sometimes that's not what we can do. But Mary Ann Hess, who is our president-elect, incoming president, and Lisa Garcia, who was our VP, incoming president-elect, have appointed committee members, but they will continue to accept committee members depending on what you want to do. And I just saw where Karen put the application link, and I would encourage you to get involved, because that's the way that I found out how or what IMC was really about, you know, the inner workings, what the committees did. And I found myself wanting to know more, because I chaired a couple, but I like being a member better, so that you really can listen to the opinions of other people. Whatever assignments come to you, you have the ability to, you know, just find out more, because collaboration, if I can get that word out, is what our committees are about. Because there may something come up for each committee and you receive an assignment. Usually there's something in the beginning, and most of we meet by Zoom, so it's not a hard thing to be a member. It's just spending a couple hours whenever there's a member giving your opinion or listening to whatever the chair's been given to ask the members to review proposals, change a policy, and it depends on which committee you're on. Some work more or harder just by the nature of what they do, just like the education committee, which is called something else, professional, or the policy committee, elections committee. Then there are some that work on the PEGA award or the awards to let people know that if you want to fill out an application because you've done something really great for your community, that award is an application process, but the award is every year. And sometimes we don't take advantage of those opportunities. Or you may know somebody or meet somebody that impresses you that you want to 1 year nominate them for the Quill Award, or vice versa. Somebody may get to know you well and do the same thing. So that's the beginning. Once you become a member and you're trying to get your certification, CMC or MMC, you do get 1 point annually towards certification if you're going after that for being a committee member. And it's not a Zoom every day, trust me. It's not even a Zoom meeting every week, or every month. So if you're find that interested. Also, if I don't know what regions you may be in, but you never know, and you might want to look at the News Digest, which it just came out. I printed out. I never had time to read it online, so I printed out so I can bring it home. But inside on the 3rd page, it has your directors. Look and see when their terms are up. You may be interested in being a director. You may not even realize how much and Karen just gave you the link to that, but you may not even realize how much you have to offer being a director and representing your members. And you also have the opportunity to travel somewhat. And IIMC does pay for your travel, reimburse you. Of course, you pay up front to go to the mid-year meeting. And then, of course, there's an application process that Karen put on. And then once you get through your directorship, it's 3 years, but you think about it, 3 years, by the time you really know what you're doing and you get the gist of what a board of director for a nonprofit is, you're all of a sudden your 3 years are up. But should you have a desire to go forward because you want to give more, or you have an idea you'd like to make happen, or you just have a desire to be on the EC, of course, you can always run for election, which is the VP. And if there's no one against you, of course, you're automatically the vice president. But that gives you an opportunity to have a say, even more so, in what's happening at IIMC. For some of us, we have bigger ideas and want to go forward. But then for some of us, we want to work behind the scenes, and neither is the better of the two. It just depends on how you feel and what you want to do. As you know, we just concluded our election, and Dawn Abramsonham from California, I think you pronounce her city Valleyho. That's probably not right. I'm not good at that. But she will be sworn in at the annual business meeting on May the 17th as your new vice president. And as you know, the vice president in 3 years ascends to the presidency. So for all practical purposes, you decide who you want your president to be. And that's an important thing to consider when you're thinking about those that are running, or you read emails or you see their picture. Join if they have a Facebook Live, or even possibly contact them because you want to know more about what they're thinking, because every vote counts. And it's surprising that we have about 15,000 members, but most of the time, and it's been pretty steady over the years, only about 2,500 of our members bother to vote. And it would be so awesome if we were able to increase that number of votes that come in, and somebody could win by a huge number. But I can tell you, when you win, you win. It doesn't matter how many, as long as you have the majority. And that's an awesome thing. So is anybody besides Camilla, Bonnie or Tracy or Sue, or any of you guys going to the IMC conference in May? Tracy's shaking her head no.
No,
No.
no, I can't. We have our WAPRO conference for 2 mornings, and it's being held virtually. So
Okay, I understand that. What about you, Bonnie?
No, I'm not able to attend either.
Okay, well, I'm glad, and Sue Frank says she won't be attending, but that's the reason why, or one of the reasons that past President Mary Johnston started these Zoom is because we call her the COVID president, and the COVID president did not get an opportunity to travel. And it was all due to COVID because all the boundaries were shut down. So she started these along with Karen helping her so that the members could see who she was, which I think is really important because I would imagine unless you attend a Zoom meeting, you really don't know who the president is. And it isn't that we have more power than anybody. It's just we're crazy enough to run for election and we finally reached this pinnacle. And I can be honest that it does take a crazy person, but it is well worth the journey to get here. If you love your clerks and love IMC and all the opportunities that are provided, another thing that I believe that we excel at with IMC is extending an invitation for virtual Athenian dialogues. We're doing more and more and more of those. And I have read lots of books, and it's probably been 3/4 to 1/4. And the 1/4 are books I'm thinking, why am I reading this crazy book? I don't even know why I joined this Athenian dialogue, and I do buy the book, but I like to listen to it. So if I want to read it, at least have it. Most of the time I prefer the Audible portion of it, but there are some books that you can't do that on Audible. Then you end up reading them. But I can tell you there's not an Athenian dialogue that I haven't attended that the dialogue was better than the written material. The book was just horrible for me, but the dialogue and different people, what was brought out by the facilitator, the different ideas and opinions, and just learning how other people think and what they think of the book. And it gives you a different perspective many times, or it has me. So I would encourage you, if you have the time and can join the Athenian, I think the cost is application and $15. And then from then on, you just look on the website, IMC, there's a list of the virtual ones or in person, and attend 10 of those. Of course, you get your certificates, you send them into IMC, and then you become an Athenian Fellow. And I'll be honest with you, when this came out in the early 2000s, I thought, what in the world is this Athenian Fellow thing? And so I didn't bother with it. And then I saw more and more people were doing this and talking about it and experiencing this. And I thought, well, I guess I need to find out. And believe it or not, my first one was Shoot Like a Girl at an IIMC conference. And at that conference, the person, the female that wrote it, was there. And she did, she spoke, did one of the keynote speaker address, which I thought she was excellent. But I got more out of it because I'd done the Athenian dialogue. So it's very easy to do. It's very easy to listen to Audible. I do it going back and forth to work, cleaning house, working in the yard. My husband and I might be going someplace, and if he's not talking, I'll put on my book so I can finish listening to it. But it just enriches your life for every little thing that you do to gain knowledge, and then have, because I've seen my fellow people and went, did you see that? Have you done this book? Have you done that book? And then I have someone and I'll bring up a book and we have to talk about it because she'll say, oh my God, I can't believe you're listening to that book. And it was horrible, or I found out it was horrible. And then I'll say, okay, this is what I got out of it. And she may have read a synopsis somewhere and she'd go, oh, I didn't think about that. And it's the same thing, because I had a different take And I'm particularly talking about the Matthew McConaughey book, Green Light. The language in it is very colorful. He has lived a very colorful life, but what I got out of it was different than what other people got out of it. You know, and his premise was you look for the green lights in your life to figure out what your next step is. And sometimes you have a green light and all of a sudden you get a red light and it stops you in your tracks, and it's not something that you need to do. Because sometimes we need a little push to really take the next step, particularly if we're in an uncomfortable situation in regards to not comfortable in our own shoes because we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And then there are often times where what I call God wink moments, where somebody gives you an opportunity, but you just can't see your way through that opportunity. So you really have to think about it. And then you talk to somebody that's your confidant, and they help you figure out that, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's going to be different. But the question that I was asked early in my life, because I got a chance to move from North Carolina, which is where I'm from, if you don't already know, to Florida, and it was for the job in Sanibel. And my former mayor, long time ago, I said, could you come to my office? I need to talk to you. And he said to me, after I told him what the offer was and, you know, moving away, leaving my son in North Carolina, he said, the only question I have for you is, if you do not step through the door, will you always wonder what might have happened? And boy, that was really poignant for me, because I know myself well enough. I would have always wondered, you know, what could I have done? Did I ever think I'd move from North Carolina? No, that was never in my plan. I'm proud to be a Carolina girl, but he made me think differently. So, you know, and I appreciate that God wink moment that somebody cared enough to provide their input honestly. Because if you have somebody that you trust and you can talk to, you want them to provide. I think I do. Sometimes it might hurt my feelings, but I really want them to give me, you know, their honest opinion on something. And, you know, I've learned through, as growing older, that even if you're out of your comfort zone, if you step through that comfort zone, you're rewarded, because you would never have known a person or had a journey or been provided with an opportunity if you didn't just step through the door. So I would encourage you to look around you and to find those God wink moments. And if you decide not to step through the door, figure out if it'd be something that you would regret. And if it is, maybe you need to consider it a little bit more. And that goes along in your state association. And it goes along, of course, as I attach it to IIMC and what you may have to offer IIMC. And I hope that sometime or another you have the opportunity to go to one of the conferences. But there may be something you're missing because you're not going. Have you ever thought about filling out a conference scholarship application? And that pays for your registration to a conference, $650. All you need when you fill in that application before you submit it is a letter from your management that says, if Pamela achieves this scholarship, I will fund the remaining of her travel, which is a hotel and normally an air flight, and of course your meals. But one thing I found is that I'm a person that would rather stay with somebody when I go somewhere than stay by myself. Every day it's not, you know, maybe I go in the evening. If I'm tired, I'm going, gee, if I just had a minute to myself. But then after the conference is over and I look over it, I had more fun. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had 4 people in my room because they didn't have a room or they needed a couch, but we had a great time. And I think conference, that's what it's about. But if you can get that $650 registration right off the top, you will have to pay it up front. You'll need to let your management know that. But then IMC reimburses that money. So it will come back to you. And I got a conference probably 10 or 12 or 13 years ago. So my city manager said, nope, you can't go. And I said, okay, what if I fill out an application and I get lucky enough? She said, if you get the scholarship, I'll let you go. Fortunately, I got the scholarship. But, you know, we never use all the money for the foundation. And if you don't know who the foundation is, IIMC Foundation is the working arm to raise money so we can have scholarships to our clerks. Not only do we have scholarships for the registration, but you can apply for scholarships if you're going towards your MMC or your CMC, or you want to take classes online. Karen is posting in the chat box the link. But if you want to take classes online, there is a scholarship for that. States who are putting on their regional conference, they can apply for their $1,000 annually, whoever's doing the region conference in your area. And it's for education or to set up a meeting for education. I mean, they can use it for a lot of different things. But we do not, as members, take advantage of what is offered because maybe we're not reminded or maybe we're embarrassed. But let me tell you, if there's free money out there and I'm filling out an application, I've been right there. You know, and it also helps you to attend your academy if you're trying to get your certification. So it's $400 a year, and we never give out all the money. But I don't know if you know much about the foundation, but this is the arm that raises money, that works off the interest, that provides all of this funding. But it's also the board is 26 members, maybe not that many, but they're volunteer. So when they travel to attend a foundation meeting, they pay for it themselves. None of the money that is raised or that we donate. So when you get your membership dues in, which I just, we got them to be paid by March 31st, there's an additional request for $25. I would hope that maybe you would consider next year, if you haven't, or maybe just a check for $25. And you can even go online and submit $25 or $5. I always say, if every member were to donate the cup of a Starbucks coffee, just think how much money we could raise. And that's about $6. That's about a grande, which is what I usually get. But if you're getting a large, that's even more. And what about all the frappuccinos that we buy? That's even more. So we could really raise a lot of money. And if the 10,000 members that were in the United States just gave $10 a piece, $10, it's $100,000. And what we could do with that $100,000. So the foundation is a very important part of what we do to give our members the benefits. And if we didn't have a foundation, we wouldn't have those benefits. So, you might think about it. There's also other things you can do. You can have a legacy. Maybe you have extra money when you pass, you want to leave IIMC, or you want to start a fund for yourself that when you reach a certain amount, then your state might benefit from a scholarship from the Pamela Smith endowment. So there's all kinds of things. And I would encourage you to go to the foundation website, just take a look and see what they have to offer and the applications that you can complete in order to maybe get a registration next year. We give out 2 to every district if those people apply. So we don't always have 2 in any district that may fill out an application. And then there have been years where we had maybe 4, but it goes by points. And the application itself is, it speaks for itself. It tells you exactly what you need to do. So I would encourage you to try your best to see what it's about. Hey, you never know. Start talking to your management and say, if I could, would you? And maybe, just maybe, I'll see you, where are we next year? Calgary. So think of going to Calgary next year. And that'll be an awesome conference. It's in Canada, of course. And I understand it's very beautiful. So that's an opportunity. And then if you feel like, well, you know, the hotel's a little too much, maybe my city won't allow it. See if you can find a buddy and room with them. And for the first time, sometimes that's even better because you have somebody to pal around with and, you know, kind of offset that loneliness you may feel. But you can always walk up to me and we'll chat. I tell you, I'm not always the biggest chatter in the group. There are other people who sometimes are more comfortable in their skin when they see a group of people. But I can pretty much hold my own, but I would encourage you to do that. So I thought you might be interested in knowing that we had a board meeting yesterday, and you may not know that we have in the last 10 years raised $1 million, and that $1 million has been sitting in a bank. So the board had the great idea that it was time that we did something and invested that $1 million so that we are physically comfortable and responsible, but maybe we could do a little bit more and raise more money. So yesterday we hired a wealth management group. Of course, they're in California, and we're going to invest $750,000. And we're going to leave the $250 liquidity just in case, you know, whatever happens may happen. You know, you never know where the economy's going. So we're going to put that to the side and then invest the $750 in a couple different ways. You know, maybe different CDs that have different opportunities or duration that yield more money. Some other things that we talked about, and I'm not a good person to talk about when it comes to investment and stocks and CDs and all that stuff. So, but the board did vote to do that tomorrow. Do that starting this week to get it started so that we could, you know, see how the stock market might treat us and move money around to see if we can take advantage of what's out there with, what do you want to call it? What's going down, interest rates. So they've been really high, but they're going down right now. But we wanted to do something before June the 1st when financial stuff starts happening again, and you know, by June the 1st. So we'll be trying to do a little bit of that. Let's see, what else? We did Athenians, we did committees, we did directors. I didn't have any questions. So if you have a question or you want to just pop up, you're more than welcome to say, hello, you know, can I speak? I have no problem with that. Although, you know, I seem to be able to talk more or better in the afternoon than in the morning. The morning's always my exercise thing where I'm going, I don't know what to talk about. And then in the afternoon, it just seems to flow so much better. I just do not understand that. But if you've never been to an IMC conference, I would truly encourage you. You know, the opening ceremony is the flag ceremony. And for every state and country that is represented, we have the parade of flags. And it is an awesome sight. And then we, at the after the parade of flags, and everybody is on the side of the auditorium. And we have our international group that we do the, Lord have mercy, help me here, Star Spangled Banner. We do each country's Star Spangled Banner. And it's just so touching when they're standing up there on the stage and you see how proud they are. And then as our state flags are coming down, you see how these presidents or the representatives, are so proud, and people are yelling out, and hoorah for whoever. And it's just really a touching sight. So that is a good reason to think about attending, not counting all the classes you get to go to and the networking and the all conference event, because this year, since we're in Minneapolis, we're going to do a Prince theme on Tuesday at all conference event. And it should be really cool. We going to wear purple of any whatever. We have the conference committee, host committee has been working really hard to have a really cool band. I can't remember what their name is, but they're supposed to be really, really good. They're very excited. So, if they're excited for their own band, it's got to be good. Also, if you were to go, you'd have a side trip, maybe to Paisley Park. And you asked me, what's Paisley Park? Well, that's where Prince lived and recorded. Has a restaurant. There's some of his stuff. You can't touch it, but you can see it. There's different levels of tours that you can go to. So that's pretty awesome as well. I don't know, just downtown. When you go downtown Minneapolis, and it's a large city, but I always tell everybody it has a small town feel. I mean, the streets are so easily walkable. Everything I ate, and I'm a very picky eater, all the food was wonderful. About 10 or 15 minutes from the hotel, and everything is inclusive in the hotel with the conference center. There's a wonderful cultural park that has a lot of cool, large cultural, like a spoon with water flowing and a cherry and a big blue rooster and some other really cool things that I'd never seen before. So I had a good time walking amongst it. And then they have a lot of culture in Minneapolis as well, a lot of jazz and things like that. And there's one restaurant called First Street, and that's where Prince videoed part of Purple Rain. And they are very proud of that. And every artist that has ever performed at First Avenue, they have their picture on the outside of the building, except Prince, of course. I guess they feel like he's their son. His is different, and they have a really big picture across the street or down the street of him. And he's highlighted, but there's, lots and lots of artists that at one time have performed at the First Street restaurant, bar and grill, or whatever they really want to call it. So it's an opportunity. So that's why I'm saying Calgary, application for registration. Who would want to miss that opportunity? So think about it, and it might be something that, you want to do. Another thing is that, like I mentioned before, the News Digest, I don't know if you guys pay attention, but this has a lot of information in it that comes out once a month. And it's well worth taking your time to read it. It just came out, I believe, last week, or maybe the end of the week before. And we've tried really hard to put a lot of information in it so that it will be a benefit for you, just not this News Digest that happens to pop up. And then you should also be receiving the mini e-briefing that Chris Shelby does on Wednesday that gives you additional opportunity. And another thing is, if you're looking for points, Dr. Rodriguez puts on 2 additional educational sessions every quarter. And usually they're in the e-digest on Wednesday, front and center. You can fill out, of course, all you have to do, Karen's just posted the link. There's a plethora of topics. It's very economical, $50, $60. It's 2 hours. You get 1 point. But more importantly, if you sign up, you register, and you end up, something happens, you can't always do what you think. You can go to the IIMC Facebook page and still take that class and still get your certificate. Because as we know, any education you take, you want to make sure you get a certificate so you can hand it in for your certification. More certificates, the better. I just when I was trying to obtain my CMC or MMC, I just stuck them in a folder. And then on occasion, now you can actually email them as you go along to Kelly Sixon, who's our staff member that does certification, and she'll keep up with it, or keep them all and add up your own points and see if you've got enough on both sides in order to obtain your MMC or CMC. But, and don't be discouraged if it takes you a while to do this. You know, the CMC seems to be quicker because you go to an institute for 3 years, and then you also have to get your experience points. Your MMC, it took me 10 years to get mine. Now, other people, it doesn't take that long, but I really had to work, and I thought I would never get my MMC. So I thought that was a pretty cool accomplishment once I was able to put that acronym behind my name, because your councils or mayors want a professional city clerk or deputy clerk or municipal clerk or city secretary, whatever you call yourself. You want them to know that you know your business and that they can count on you. And sometimes it's not easy. Karen just posted another link, but sometimes it's not easy to speak for ourselves. But if we don't speak for ourselves and push ourselves forward with our offices, with the people we have to and council we have to satisfy, and the city manager or whoever they are, sometimes it's difficult to stand out. But if we don't punch our own button or pat ourselves on the back and let them know of our accomplishments, they usually go to the wayside. So speak up. And if you need some encouragement, you can always give me a call. I'll give you lots of encouragement, because we all need somebody along that journey that's going to stand with us and give us advice and push us forward. Because sometimes you feel like you're in your city and you're working, you're all by yourself and nobody's going through what you're going through. I can assure you that there are people that you may not even know that's already been through what you've been through, or worse, or not as bad, that will stand by your side and just encourage you. And most of the time, that's all we need, is that little bit of encouragement. I have lots of stories I could tell you, but some of them are worth it and some of them aren't. But sometimes on the days that are the hardest, you feel like that you want to give up and this job just isn't worth it. And I can tell you, I remember about 10 years after I moved to Sanibel, I worked with a really bad city manager for about 20 years. And one day I had just had enough. And I picked up my pocketbook and whatever else I had in my arms. And I could always go to legal and vent, because the paralegal and the attorney, we somehow became just very close friends. And we worked closely together. And I went down there and I said, I'm through. I am up to it. They can stick this job. I am not interested anymore. And I was walking out the door. I told them that. I was getting ready to walk out the door, and the attorney says, he says, I think you need to sit down just a minute. And he and the paralegal, who we're still friends, just sat down and said, you know that you do not want to quit this job. And why would you want to give somebody the benefit of making you think you want to quit this job? So I was allowing a really bad person to take up space in my head. And for some reason, that talk did me more good, because I never felt like that again. I always felt like after that, okay, bring it on. I'm going to be here and I'm going to stay here, and I am not leaving. I don't care what you did. And she really tried, because she couldn't be a city clerk, but she always professed to be, she had other things in her past, department directors and stuff that she was before she became a city manager. So she had some expertise in a lot of stuff, but she'd never been a city clerk. So I was an experienced city clerk, so I knew what I was talking about. So you need somebody in your back pocket that you can just call up and say, can you give me a minute? I just got to run my mouth. Because if you don't, you isolate yourself. to somebody who can help push you forward. And my cell phone number happens to be 239-246-7070. And if you feel like you just can't stand it and you want to talk, I will talk you off the ledge, because I feel like that one time, and there's been other times, but that time really sticks in my mind, is that what I would have given up if I had let her win, and what joys I would not have had. I wouldn't be here if I'd quit 10 or 12 years ago because she got in my head. So see what I would have lost. So, I'm all about not letting people take up space in your head, and more about finding those people who will cheer you on and who will give you the push that you need, because you're a good clerk, you do a good job, that you know what you're doing. You just need to be bold enough to think that and to let everybody else know that. I always said, I am not your secretary. Can you go do this for me? No, I'm sorry. I'm busy. I mean, I really, really a city clerk is busy. I don't have time to get the council member a cup of coffee. And besides, I'm not a waitress. That's not what I was hired for. But once I put, and I was asked that a lot by one of my, the vice mayor, who was mayor and then vice mayor. He would do that all the time. And I'd always say, Vice Mayor, I'd love to get you a cup of coffee, but I got this. Here's the coffee pot. Here's the little things, the pods. It's really easy. You can do that yourself. Or tea, because he drank tea as well. But if we don't speak up for ourselves, nobody else will. So I just want to let you know that if you think you can't because somebody might not appreciate it, find a way to do that, because you're worth speaking up for yourself. And you never know what that one, you don't have to be ugly, but you never know, just that one little thing. Today, I'm going to be bolder. Well, there's Mr. Smith.
Hey,
He had taken a nap, so he's gotten up. So, but you never know what that one thing might be. Tracy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I've been here for about 7.5 years, and I'm with a transit authority, a small rural transit authority. And so my goal, I'm planning to retire in about 4 years. I've been a certified and recertified public records officer, and I'm doing my CMC. And my goal is more leaving a legacy behind, because we've had sort of voluntold, people that have been clerks and things like that. But I've really dived in both as the public records officer side and this. And so my goal is to kind of leave a legacy of, this is where you want to be, and, and really have it as a respected position,
Exactly.
rather than a voluntold kind of position, which, as I look back through things, so anyway, that's my goal, and I,
Well, it's a great goal.
mhm.
It truly
And
is.
well, and it will be the first time in the history of the agency that they will have had, a certified public records officer and clerk.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
so
don't you feel like once you voice that, it makes it more real?
Mhm,
You really are going to do that?
mhm.
Sometimes we have these ideas, but we never voice them for somebody to know what our goal is.
Right. And, with 4 years ahead of me, there's a definite timeline,
Yep.
you can't fudge on that one.
That's exactly right. Well, awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I've absolutely loved the whole thing. I was a paralegal in a law firm for 23 years, and then I did some other things. But I need a really stimulating job
Right.
to keep me interested, or I like to be busy things. So this is a great job for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's what you want to hear. If you don't want to sit still, you're exactly right. I would totally agree. Well, thank you for expressing that and sharing it with us.
Yeah.
you know, maybe in 4 years, I'll see you on another Zoom call and you can tell us where you are then. It'll be another president though, but I can still listen. So we've got about 11 minutes. Anybody else want to say something? It's not the Pamela show. This is your show. Well, I guess not, but thank you, Tracy, for sharing. I really appreciate that. You know, I would encourage you as you just continue wherever you are in your career to find those people that you can trust, that can help push you forward. Find that space that makes you feel good and safe, and don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. You know, when I grew up, it was not a great situation, and I was always told that I could not do or I would not excel. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. But I was always told, you know, you can't do this. You'll never be anything. And as a young woman, I really thought that way. And so I don't know why I woke up all of a sudden and I thought, gee whiz, I can really do a lot. You know, as you experience things and you get stronger, you get more mature, you find that you see the opportunities that may be there. So I would just encourage you to find that within yourself and show other people, you know, but when you do that, you show yourself that you can do that as well. You know, and I think your involvement as a city clerk, you as a city clerk, we have to be in front of people. You know, when you're attending whatever council meeting or transit meeting or water board meeting or whatever you're the clerk of, you are front and center. And there's many times where they look to you for direction on a plethora of stuff. And that's why we get our certification and we look at the legislative changes in our state, depending on where you are or what job you're doing and how it may affect how we do our job. Or I mean, here in Florida, oh my gosh, I think the legislature are crazy people. I am really concerned because at one time they were municipal people, most of them, and then they moved forward. Well, I am so glad you are an associate member, but I had somebody in the chat box. So if you want to see what's popping up so I can see, you can always look at the chat box. But, you know, you find as you become a more seasoned clerk that people look to you because you're the authority. You're the authority of your minutes, of your records program, you know, of anything. You don't have to be certified in everything, but you have to be up to date. And one thing I always did when there were legislative changes and a statute was new and when it was finally signed, I would always send it to the city attorney and the city manager and say, don't know if you know about this, but you know, so many things are changing in Florida, like our financial disclosures are getting ready to change. The way we do our legal ads have changed just this last year. They change how we do vacation rentals. I mean, I don't know if that's going on in every other state, but you know, it's just so many things that they're trying to take away home rule for municipalities or authorities. And I just don't get that because they were at the municipal level when they first started out, you know, so it's just a really strange. Well, the world to me has gotten strange, but I'm sure my parents probably said the same thing, that as they became older adults, the world had gotten stranger, you know. What's an IIMC level? Do you know that acronym, Karen? Diane?
It's Michigan Professional Municipal Clerk Level 2.
Awesome. Now, aren't you mostly elected in Michigan?
Michigan deputy clerks are appointed, and through my term of being an active deputy clerk, I started that. And then once I retired, I was able to finish my Level 2. I had received my municipal clerk certification, And then I continued on with it, my time, my dime, and received my level 2.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. And I do continue my education because I believe your mantra was GEM and the E was education. I believe that was you.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
And I'm a high proponent of education. I believe you can teach an old dog new tricks.
I do too.
So I sign up for every possible class I can sign up for. And COVID offered a lot of online classes, and
Yeah.
many of them were at no cost. And
Yeah,
I would have been crazy not to take those classes because they paid me to take classes.
absolutely. That's something we need to remember. You searched out the opportunities and it paid off.
It did. Thank
You
you.
know, yeah, it just makes a big, and that's what I'm talking about. If you hear of a class and you know somebody, it's beneficial for you, tell somebody so it can be beneficial to them, because you may or may not know where they are in their certification. Because you never know in your journey, in your, what I consider my clerk life, where you may end up, because that doesn't mean because you started at one city, you're going to stay at another, you're going to stay there. There's an opportunity out there. You may go to another city. Never go to a class and go, well, I don't need this class because I don't do this in my job. I will promise you, if you take that class, somewhere down the road, you're going to find that you need that, and you're going to go, oh, I had this class. So, I see a lot of people that go, I'm going to go to something else that I've had before and not this other thing because I don't think I'll need it. But I promise you, moving from Florida, North Carolina to Florida, and being a clerk in both areas, they're very, very similar, but there's always things that are different. So I'm just saying, we think, we're not going to move, we're not going to go anywhere, but never say never, because it can definitely happen. So we've only got about 4 minutes, but thank you for joining me today.
It was great. It was nice to see everybody and to connect.
Indeed.
And Friday afternoons are, well, it's just now afternoon here, but
Right.
It's just nice to connect with everybody.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Mary Ann will continue this. So search out those opportunities, because, you never know where you're going to run into somebody and you're going to recognize their face because you saw them on a Zoom. And I've done that through Athenian Dialogues. I'm going, oh, I remember that person, So you don't have to meet in person to recognize somebody that you've seen before, via another Zoom, or maybe at a conference that you may get to go. But thank you for this year. Thank you for letting me serve you. I look forward to seeing you on another Zoom with Mary Ann sitting here, the new president, so that I can listen to what she has to say. So I hope you have a wonderful Easter and the Lord will bless you. But I really thank you today for listening.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.